My daughter-in-law saw me in front of the mirror, trying on a new lipstick. She smiled with disdain and said, "Don't try so hard, Eleanor. At that age, makeup doesn't really perform miracles anymore." I didn't respond. I just put the mirror away, took my purse, and left. The next day, when she saw who had arrived to pick me up, all the color drained from her face. But to understand how I got to that moment, I need to take you back 3 years. To the day I buried Arthur, my husband, the day everything began to fall apart. My name is Eleanor. I am 67 years old, and for 42 years, I lived in the same house in Oak Creek, a quiet suburb outside of Chicago. It was a house with a small garden, with colorful ceramic tiles in the kitchen, with the smell of the coffee Arthur used to brew every morning. A house full of memories, of laughter, of life. When Arthur died, I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My 2 sons came to the funeral. Michael, the eldest, arrived with Jessica, his wife. David, the younger one, came alone from Madison, where he worked as an engineer. Michael barely hugged me. Jessica wore dark sunglasses and a tight black dress that seemed more appropriate for a movie premiere than a wake. 3 weeks after the funeral, Michael showed up at my door. "Mom, we need to talk," he said. Jessica was behind him with a smile that, at the time, seemed supportive. "We're worried. This house is too big for you all alone. What if something happens to you? What if you fall?" I was still numb with grief. I was still sleeping on the side of the bed that wasn't mine. I still set out 2 coffee cups on the table every morning out of habit. "Let us stay in the upstairs apartment for a while," Michael proposed, "just while we save up for our own place. That way, we can look after you, Mom. You won't be alone." Those words were my downfall. "You won't be alone." I agreed. My God, I agreed without thinking. The first week was tolerable. Jessica went up and down the stairs with boxes. Michael set up their internet connection. I continued with my routine, making my breakfast, watering my plants, watching my soap operas. But in the second week, Jessica started coming downstairs more often. "Oh, Eleanor, are you still using these old pots?" she'd say, tapping my enamel cookware. "Eleanor, aren't you embarrassed to have these faded curtains?" Every comment was like a tiny needle. It didn't hurt immediately, but they added up. One day, I came home from the store to find she had moved my living room furniture. "It was just so old-fashioned, Eleanor. I wanted to give it a more modern touch," she explained with that smile of hers. I didn't say anything. I swallowed my annoyance. I thought, she's trying to help, but when she threw out my collection of ceramic mugs that Arthur had given me over the years, something inside me started to break too. "Oh, sorry, Eleanor. They were so chipped. I already bought you some new, prettier ones." The new ones were clear glass, cold, without any history. That night, I cried silently, hugging the one mug I had saved from the trash. But the worst was yet to come. The following months were like watching the tide wash away the sand on a beach. Slowly, without you being able to stop it, Jessica no longer asked for permission for anything. She would come down to my kitchen and use my things as if they were hers. She would open my refrigerator and complain, "Oh, Eleanor, nothing but old people food. Don't you get tired of eating the same thing?" One Tuesday, I came home from the farmer's market carrying my grocery bags. Jessica was in the living room, painting her nails on my sofa. "Eleanor, you still go to the market? There are apps to have everything delivered to your house. You're not at an age to be carrying bags around." I gripped the handles of the bags until my fingers hurt. "I like picking out my own tomatoes," I replied with all the calm I could muster. She laughed. "Oh, that's sweet. Ladies of your generation and your little habits. Ladies of your generation. As if I were a museum relic." Michael was almost never around. He left early, came back late. When I mentioned anything about Jessica, he would just say, "Mom, she's trying to help you. Don't be so hard on her." Me? Hard on her? I could barely speak a word without my voice breaking. One day, I was tidying my room when I found something strange. Bills. Bills in my name that I hadn't authorized. Credit cards I didn't remember applying for. Purchases from department stores for amounts that made my blood run cold. $4,700 in a single transaction. Another for $8,900. One more for $12,300. My hands trembled holding those papers. I went upstairs, my heart pounding in my temples. I knocked on the door to their apartment. Jessica opened it with a green face mask on. "Jessica, I need to talk to you." "Oh, Eleanor, I'm busy. Can it be later?" "No, it's now." My voice sounded firmer than I expected. She sighed dramatically and let me in. I showed her the bills. "What is this?" "There are purchases in my name for over $20,000. For a second, just 1 second, I saw something in her eyes. Something cold, something calculated. But it disappeared so quickly I thought I had imagined it. "Oh, Eleanor, don't you remember? You gave me permission. You told me to use your card because mine was blocked. Have you already forgotten?" "I never—" "Eleanor," she interrupted me in a soft, almost motherly voice. "Sit down. Have you taken your medicine today? Sometimes, when you don't take your pills, you forget things." I wasn't taking any medicine. I was perfectly lucid. But the way she said it, with that fake concern, made me doubt myself for a horrible instant. "I'm going to talk to Michael," I finally said. "Of course, Eleanor." I spoke with him. That night, I waited for my son. When he arrived after 10 o'clock, I showed him the bills. Michael looked them over, tired, with deep dark circles under his eyes. He called for Jessica. She came down wrapped in a silk robe, her eyes red as if she had been crying. "Honey, my mom says she didn't authorize these purchases." Jessica let out a sob, a perfect, well-acted sob. "It's just that I only wanted to help her, Michael. She told me she needed things for the house, that she felt bad asking her children for money. I just wanted to help." Another tear rolled down her cheek. "If I did something wrong, forgive me, Eleanor. I just didn't want you to feel bad for asking." Michael looked at me, and in his gaze, I saw that he believed her, not me, his wife, not his mother. "Mom," he said in a soft voice, as if I were a small child, "maybe you just forgot. You've been under a lot of stress since Dad." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. "Jessica just wants to help. Please, be more understanding with her." I stood there, in my own living room, holding those bills, feeling how my own son chose his wife's lie over his mother's truth. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, listening to their footsteps on the floor above, feeling how my house was ceasing to be mine. And then I heard something that froze my blood. Jessica was on the phone. Her voice carried through the ceiling. I didn't understand everything, but I caught some stray words. "Soon. Right moment. She doesn't suspect a thing." I got out of bed, my heart racing. I went upstairs barefoot until I was under her window. "Mom says we have to speed things up." "No, he doesn't say anything. He does what I want." "Yes, the house will be in our name. I already have everything ready." I felt the floor open up beneath my feet, but I still had no idea how far their plan went. The following days were a silent nightmare. Every time I saw Jessica, I remembered those words. "The house will be in our name." How? What was she talking about? This house was mine. Arthur and I paid for it for 20 years. Every brick, every window, every corner held our sweat. I tried to act normal, but she noticed everything. She would look at me with those narrowed eyes, as if evaluating me. "Eleanor, are you feeling all right? You seem nervous." "I'm fine," I would lie. I started looking for my important documents. The deed to the house, my will, Arthur's life insurance papers. I kept them in a wooden box in my closet. When I went to check them, my heart stopped. Documents were missing. The deed was there, yes, but there were copies I didn't remember making. And there were new papers, with letterheads from law firms I had never visited. I picked up my phone with trembling hands and called David, my younger son, the one who had always been more observant, quieter. "Mom, what's wrong? Your voice sounds strange." I couldn't hold back. I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since Arthur's funeral. I told him everything. The bills, the comments, the conversation I had overheard, the documents. "I'm on my way," he said without hesitation. "This weekend, I'll be there." When David arrived on Saturday, Jessica put on her best face. She made him coffee, smiled at him, asked about his job in Madison. "David, it's so good to see you. Your mom has been neglecting us. You hardly ever tell us about yourself." David just nodded, polite but distant. He had always been that way. He observed more than he spoke. That afternoon, while Jessica was out at the supermarket and Michael was at work, David and I sat in the kitchen. I showed him the bills, the documents, everything. His seriousness reminded me of his father. Arthur also had that way of furrowing his brow when something didn't add up. "Mom, this is wrong, very wrong," he finally said. "These copies of the deed, someone is using them for something. And these bills, this is fraud. But Michael tells me I'm forgetting things, that I gave permission." "You're not forgetting anything," David cut in firmly. "I know you. I know when something is affecting you, and I see how she looks at you, Mom, as if she's waiting for you to disappear." His words gave me chills because it was exactly what I felt. On Sunday, during lunch, David tried to talk to Michael. Jessica was sitting next to my older son, her hand on his, as if marking territory. "Brother, we need to talk about Mom." "What about Mom?" Michael asked, without looking up from his plate. "I think someone is taking advantage of her." Jessica let out a light laugh. "Oh, David, don't start with your theories. Your mom is perfectly well taken care of here with us." "I'm not talking to you," David replied with a coldness that surprised me. The atmosphere tensed. Michael finally looked up. "What are you implying? That there are fraudulent bills in Mom's name? That there are documents being moved that she didn't authorize? That something is not right?" Jessica clutched the napkin in her lap. I saw her jaw tighten. "Michael, are you going to let your brother accuse me like this?" And there she was again, the perfect victim. The teary eyes, the broken voice. Michael stood up. "David, if you're going to come to my house to disrespect my wife—" "This isn't your house," David interrupted. "It's our mother's house." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Michael left the table. Jessica followed him, but not before shooting me a look I will never forget, pure, concentrated venom. David had to go back to Madison that night for work, but before he left, he hugged me tight. "You're not alone, Mom, I promise you. I'm going to find out what's happening." When he left, the house felt emptier than ever. In the following days, Jessica intensified her strategy. Now the goal was clear. To isolate me, I had my group of friends. We met every month for our knitting circle and to have tea. They were women my age, lifelong friends. Carol, Barbara, Helen. We had raised our children together. We had buried our husbands together. One Thursday, as I was getting ready to go to our meeting, Jessica came downstairs. "Where are you going, Eleanor?" "To Carol's house. It's our knitting meeting." She made a face. "Oh, Eleanor, with those ladies again? I always see you so tired after those meetings. They're all getting so old, don't you think? All that talk of aches and pains. It depresses you." "My friends don't depress me. I'm not saying it's their fault, Eleanor. But at your age, fatigue is dangerous. What if you get dizzy on the way? What if something happens to you?" Every word was an invisible chain. "I'm fine, Jessica." I know. But Michael worries so much. Why don't you just stay here? I'll keep you company. We can watch a movie." I looked at my purse, my sweater, the keys in my hand, and for the first time in my life I felt afraid. Afraid to leave my own house. Afraid of what might happen if I disobeyed her. I picked up the phone and called Carol. "Carol, I won't be able to make it today. I'm feeling a little tired." My friend's concerned voice on the other end broke my heart. "Eleanor, are you okay? You haven't come in 2 months." 2 months? Had I been letting my life slip away for that long? "I'm fine, I need to rest." When I hung up, Jessica was smiling. "What a good decision, Eleanor. You'll see, you'll feel better here, nice and quiet. Resting." I sat on the sofa, in my own living room, feeling the walls close in on me. And the worst part was that no one, absolutely no one, seemed to see what was happening. But the universe was preparing something that neither of us expected. 3 weeks later, Jessica entered my room with a smile that should have alerted me. But I was so tired, so defeated, that I could no longer recognize the danger signs. "Eleanor, I have a surprise for you." I looked up from the book I was pretending to read. In reality, I had been staring at the same page for 20 minutes without processing a single word. What surprise? We're going to throw you a birthday party. My birthday was in 4 days. 68 years old. Since Arthur died, I hadn't celebrated any of them. I had no desire to. Birthdays are for celebrating with the person who knows every one of your years, and that person was gone. I don't want a party, Jessica. Oh, Eleanor, don't be a sourpuss. You'll see, you're going to love it. I'll invite the neighbors, the family, your friends. It will be beautiful. Something in her tone unsettled me, but I didn't have the strength to fight. My birthday arrived with a brilliant sun that contrasted with the darkness I felt inside. Jessica had been decorating the house since early morning. Pink and gold balloons everywhere, a table with snacks, music playing in the background. See, Eleanor? Everything's perfect for you. The guests started arriving after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Neighbors who barely spoke to me anymore. Some of Michael's distant cousins. Jessica's sister with her husband. And, to my surprise, Carol, Barbara, and Helen also came. Eleanor, it's so good to see you, Carol said, hugging me tightly. We haven't heard from you in so long. We thought you were mad at us. I could never be mad at you, I whispered. Jessica suddenly appeared between us. My mother-in-law's friends. Come in, come in. There's food and drinks for everyone. The party was going normally until it was time for the cake. Jessica had everyone gather in the living room. They turned off the lights. They sang a happy birthday, off-key and cheerful. Well, before we cut the cake, Jessica announced with a glass in her hand, I want to say a few words about my dear mother-in-law. My stomach clenched. Eleanor is an incredible woman. A woman from another era. Light laughter from the crowd. And since she's from another era, well, she has her little quirks, right? More laughter. Uncomfortable now. For example, look at what I got her for a gift. She pulled a beige, knitted sweater from a bag, the kind only women in nursing homes wear. A grandma sweater, because, well, at her age, poor thing, she doesn't even know what to wear anymore. I see her and I think, oh, Eleanor, that blouse from 1985 again? Some people laughed. Others looked at the floor. I was frozen in my chair, feeling how each word was a public slap in the face. But the worst was yet to come. And since we're all friends here, Jessica continued, now with her phone in her hand, let me show you some pictures of my mother-in-law's youth so you can see that she also had her glory days. The television screen lit up, and there, for everyone to see, was a picture of me in a swimsuit. I was 28 years old. I was in Clearwater, Florida, with Arthur on our first vacation after Michael was born. I looked happy, young, a little chubby after the pregnancy. Look at that. The mother-in-law in a bikini? Jessica announced with a laugh. Well, back then they wore those swimsuits that covered everything up, right? More pictures. Me at my wedding, with a dress that I thought was the most beautiful in the world at the time, and which now, on that giant screen, looked old-fashioned. Me pregnant, with a huge belly. Me with my hair up in a style that was elegant in the 80s but now seemed ridiculous. Each photo was accompanied by a comment from Jessica. Each comment generated nervous laughter. I looked at Michael. He was in a corner, drinking a beer, saying nothing, not defending me. His silence hurt more than all of his wife's words combined. Oh, Eleanor, don't look like that, Jessica said when she saw my face. It's just for a bit of fun. You know we love you. Carol stood up. This isn't right, Eleanor. But I couldn't take it anymore. I got up from my chair. I walked through the living room, past the guests who avoided my gaze, and I went up the stairs to my room. I closed the door and let myself fall onto the bed. The tears came then. Hot, bitter, humiliating. I had been ridiculed in my own home. In front of my people. In front of my neighbors. In front of my friends. And my son hadn't said a single word. I heard soft knocks on the door. Mom? It was Michael. I didn't answer. Mom, open up. Jessica didn't mean to make you feel bad. It was just a joke. A joke. My public humiliation was a joke. Go away, Michael. Mom? Go away. I heard him go down the stairs. The party continued below as if nothing had happened. Music, laughter, conversations. I stayed there, on my bed, looking at the framed photos on my bureau. Arthur and I on our anniversary. My children as kids. A family that no longer existed. Someone else knocked on the door. This time it was David's voice. "Mom, it's me. Please, open up." I didn't know David had come to the party. I opened the door. My younger son came in, his face red with contained fury. "I just got here. I saw everything. I saw what that woman did." He sat next to me and hugged me. "This is over, Mom. I swear to you, this ends here." "I can't do anything, David." Michael defends her. "This is my house, but I feel like an intruder." "Well, you're going to stop feeling that way," he said with a determination I didn't know he had. "Because tomorrow, we start fighting back." I didn't quite believe him. How were we going to fight? Against what? Against my own son? But David was right about one thing. This couldn't go on. That night, when everyone had left and the house was quiet, I found the beige sweater Jessica had given me on my bed. I took it in my hands. It smelled new, like a department store, like mockery. And then, for the first time in months, I felt something other than sadness. I felt rage. And rage, I would soon discover, was much more useful than tears. The rage kept me awake all night. I tossed and turned in bed, replaying every moment of the humiliation, every laugh, every pitying look from my neighbors, every second of Michael's cowardly silence. At 6 o'clock in the morning, I was up. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed answers. I needed to know how far all of this went. I went down to the kitchen. The house was a disaster after the party. Dirty plates, scattered glasses, napkins on the floor. Of course, Jessica had left everything, expecting me to clean up, as always. But this time, I wasn't going to clean. This time, I was going to search. I remembered that Michael had a small study on the ground floor, next to the garage. Arthur used to use it for his work things. Michael had turned it into his personal office when they moved in, an office he kept locked. I went to my room and looked in my jewelry box. There it was, the master key that Arthur had made years ago when we were constantly losing keys. That key opened every door in the house. With my heart pounding in my ears, I went down to the study. The key turned with a soft click. The door opened. Arthur's desk now had a new computer, papers organized in folders, a forgotten coffee cup from days before. I started to look. The first folder seemed normal. Utility bills, Michael's bank statements. But the second folder had my name on it. With trembling hands, I opened it. And there it was. The whole plan, every monstrous detail. Legal documents, lawsuit drafts, a contract with a law firm in River North. And on the first page, written in clear, definitive letters, process for declaration of mental incapacity due to advanced senility. The air left my lungs. I kept reading. There was a step-by-step plan. Phase 1. Document episodes of forgetfulness and erratic behavior. Completed. Phase 2. Isolate from social circle to avoid contrary testimonies. In progress. Phase 3. Psychiatric evaluation with Dr. Wallace. Personal contact. Pending. Phase 4. Judicial request for legal guardianship. Pending. There were more pages, photographs, photos of me taken out of context. One where I was in my pajamas in the middle of the afternoon because I had felt ill. Another where I had a confused look on my face because I had lost my glasses. Another where I was talking to myself in the garden. I was actually talking to my cat, but the cat wasn't in the picture. Each image had a date and a description. Subject wanders in pajamas at inappropriate hours. Subject shows spatial disorientation. Subject exhibits episodes of speech without an interlocutor present. Subject. They called me a subject. As if I were an experiment. As if I weren't a person. As if I weren't the mother of one of them. But the worst was on the last page. A preliminary notarized document. A draft of a deed. Where the house, my house, would be transferred to Michael Castro and Jessica Montero Castro as soon as my incapacity was declared. For reasons of safeguarding the family patrimony in the face of the proven incapacity of the current owner. I felt like I was suffocating. The walls of the study were closing in on me. There was also a financial analysis. They had calculated everything, the value of the house, $875,000, according to their estimate. My savings, $34,000 in the bank. Arthur's life insurance, which I had collected and still hadn't touched, $52,000. Everything added up, labeled, valued. I wasn't their mother. I was an obstacle, a formality, a problem to be solved. And there was more. A printed WhatsApp conversation between Jessica and someone named Sharon. Jessica: "It's almost all ready, Mom. The lawyer says that in 3 months we can have the guardianship." Sharon: "And the other son?" "The one in Madison." Jessica: "David doesn't matter. Michael is the eldest and has de facto custody. The lawyer says that's enough." Sharon: "And what if she resists?" Jessica: "At her age, with the evidence we have, she doesn't stand a chance. Besides, who's going to believe her? We've already isolated her from her friends. She has no one." Sharon: "Well done, sweetie. Once you have the house, you can do whatever you want with her. Put her in a home and forget about her." Jessica: "Or even sell it and move to Lincoln Park. That has always been my goal." Tears fell onto the paper, blurring the words. But I had already read them. I could no longer erase them from my mind. A home. They wanted to put me in a home. They wanted to take my house, my dignity, my freedom, and leave me to rot in a small room while they sold the memories of my life. I took pictures of everything with my cell phone. My hands were shaking so much that several came out blurry, but I managed to capture the essential parts. I put everything back exactly as it was and left the study. I locked the door, went up to my room, sat on the edge of my bed, and looked at the pictures on the wall. Michael, as a child, smiling, with his front tooth chipped from a bicycle fall. Michael at his graduation, hugging me, telling me, "Thanks, Mom, for everything." Michael at his wedding, kissing my cheek, whispering, "You'll always be my priority." At what point had I lost my son? Or had I never really had him? The pain was so deep I couldn't even cry. It was a black, enormous, unbearable void. I called David. He answered on the second ring. "Mom, what happened?" I couldn't speak, only broken sobs. "I'm coming. I'm leaving right now. Hold on, Mom. I'm on my way." I ended the call and stayed there, hugging a pillow, feeling my entire world collapse. I had raised that boy. I had given him everything. I had stayed up all night when he had a fever. I had worked double shifts to pay for his college. I had cried with pride the day he got his first job. And now that same boy was planning to steal everything from me, declare me crazy, lock me up, erase me. The door to my room opened. It was Jessica. She was wearing a pink satin robe and carrying a steaming cup of coffee. "Good morning, Eleanor. Are you over last night's tantrum?" I looked at her, and for the first time I saw her true face, without masks, without fake smiles, just pure, cold, calculating ambition. "Get out of my room," I said in a voice I didn't recognize as my own. She laughed. "Oh, Eleanor, so dramatic. You better come down for breakfast before everything gets cold." I said, "Get out." Something in my tone made her stop. She looked at me with those narrowed eyes, evaluating me. Whatever, she finally said and left. When she closed the door, I took out my phone and looked again at the pictures I had taken of the documents. The pain was still there, deep, heart-wrenching, but now there was something else. There was evidence, and although I felt destroyed, although I felt I had lost my son forever, there was a small spark inside me that refused to go out. The spark of a woman who was not yet ready to give up. David arrived 3 hours later. I heard him burst through the front door. Jessica tried to stop him. "Oh, David, what a surprise. We didn't know. Where is my mother?" "In her room. But she's a little upset. I think she needs to rest." David walked past her as if she were invisible. He took the stairs 2 at a time. He knocked on my door. "Mom, it's me." I opened it. My son hugged me tight, and there, in his arms, I cried again. But this time, they were not tears of defeat. They were tears of contained rage. "Tell me everything," he said, closing the door. I showed him the photos. I watched his face go from concern to disbelief, and then to a fury I had rarely seen in him. This is criminal, Mom. This is fraud. It's abuse. He couldn't find the words. "It's your brother," I finished for him. It's Michael. Michael is being manipulated by that viper. But yes, he's an accomplice, and he's going to answer for this. David took a deep breath. We need legal help, someone good, someone who… At that moment, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello? Eleanor. Eleanor Aguirre. The voice was male, deep, with a warm tone that was vaguely familiar. Yes, this is she. Who's calling? It's Vincent. Vincent Serrano. I don't know if you remember me. We were classmates in college, 45 years ago. The name hit me like a wave of memories. Vincent. The quiet boy with intelligent eyes who sat 2 rows behind me in literature class. The one who had asked me out 3 times, and all 3 times I had said no because I was already dating Arthur. Vincent. Of course I remember. How did you get my number? I saw something on Facebook. A woman named Carol Medina shared a concerning post about a party. Anyway, it made me curious. I did a little digging and, well, I have my contacts. He paused. Eleanor, I know this is going to sound strange, but are you okay? Because what I read worried me. Carol. My dear friend Carol had posted something about the party, about my humiliation. No, Vincent, I'm not okay. Can we meet? For a coffee? If you want, of course. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I looked at David, who was watching me with curiosity. I motioned for him to wait. What do you do now, Vincent? I'm a lawyer. I specialize in family and inheritance law. I have my own firm in Wicker Park. The universe, I thought. It has strange ways of sending you help just when you need it most. Yes, I want to see you. Can you come to my house? It's just that I need help. Urgently. Give me the address. I'm leaving now. When I hung up, David was looking at me with his eyebrows raised. Who was that? An old friend. A lawyer? An old friend who shows up right now? Your father used to say he didn't believe in coincidences. I smiled for the first time in days. He said the universe conspires when you're on the right path. Vincent arrived an hour later. When I opened the door, I almost didn't recognize him. The skinny 22-year-old was now a man of almost 70, with silver hair, elegant glasses, and a suit that spoke of professional success. But the eyes were the same. Intelligent, kind. Eleanor, he said with a soft smile. The years have been good to you. You're lying, I replied. But I appreciate the effort. We sat in the living room. Jessica immediately came downstairs like a vulture smelling prey. Oh, Eleanor, who's your guest? A friend. And this is private, Jessica. She frowned but went back upstairs, not without giving Vincent a suspicious look. I told him everything. From the beginning, from Arthur's death, to the documents from this morning. David filled in the details. Vincent listened in silence, taking notes in a leather-bound notebook. When we finished, he took off his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Eleanor, this is serious. Very serious. But it's also solid. With the evidence you have, we can stop them. How? This house is in your name, correct? Yes. The deed is in my name. Arthur and I paid for it together, but when he died, everything was left in my name. Then you have all the power. They can't do anything without a court order, and to get that order, they would need to prove your incapacity before a judge. With the evidence we have of their fraud, no judge would grant them that guardianship. But the debts? The cards in my name? Pure fraud. We'll prove it. Every purchase, every transaction. If you didn't sign, you didn't authorize, it's not your debt. Vincent leaned forward. But I need you to trust me. We're going to document everything, every conversation, every move they make. And when we have enough, we hit them with everything. And Michael? My voice broke when I said his name. Vincent looked at me with compassion. Eleanor, Michael is an accomplice. Maybe he's being manipulated, but he is choosing his wife over his mother, and that choice has legal consequences. David intervened. I want to help with everything. Whatever you need, Vincent. Good. We need to record conversations. Eleanor, can you act? Can you pretend that everything is still the same? I thought of all the times I had pretended to be fine when I wasn't. When Arthur died and I had to keep functioning. When my whole body ached but I kept cooking, cleaning, smiling. I can act, I said. Good. In fact, if you can, pretend to be a little senile. Let Jessica get confident. Let her talk freely, thinking you're lost. The idea made my stomach turn. To pretend to be exactly what they wanted me to be. But I understood the strategy. I'll do it. Vincent took a small recorder out of his briefcase. This is legal. You are recording conversations in your own home. Everything we capture is admissible in court. He showed me how to use it. It was tiny, the size of a flash drive. And one more thing, Eleanor. Vincent looked me straight in the eye. Why did you never marry me when I asked? The question took me by surprise. David coughed uncomfortably. Vincent, relax. It's been 45 years, but I was always curious. Because I was in love with Arthur, I answered honestly. And even though you were wonderful, my heart already belonged to someone. He nodded with a melancholic smile. I figured. Arthur was a good man. I heard when he passed. I was very sorry. Thank you. But I'm here now. And this time, Eleanor, let me help you. Let me be your ally. There was something in his eyes. Something that went beyond friendship or professional help. After all these years, Vincent was still looking at me the way he did when I was 22, with admiration, with affection. And I, a widow, betrayed, stolen from, humiliated, felt for the first time in months that I was not completely alone. Thank you, Vincent. Truly. When he left, David looked at me with a mischievous smile. That man is still in love with you. Don't be ridiculous. Mom, I'm a man. I recognize that look. He turned serious, and I'm glad. You need people who truly love you. Not vultures who just want your house. That night, when the house fell silent, I hid the recorder in the pocket of my robe. Tomorrow, the performance of a lifetime would begin, and Jessica, so confident in her victory, would have no idea that the hunter had just become the prey. For the next few days, I became someone I didn't recognize. An actress, a spy in my own home. I started slowly, small memory lapses that Jessica would notice. I left my keys in strange places. I asked the same question twice. I would put on a blouse and then say, "Have I had breakfast yet?" When I clearly had. Jessica took the bait completely. "Oh, Eleanor," with the memory lapses again. "Did you take your vitamins?" She'd say with that fake concern that no longer fooled me. "What vitamins, honey?" I called her honey now. Every letter of that word cost me, but it worked. She would smile. "The ones I gave you this morning, Eleanor. Don't you remember?" "Oh, right. I think so." I would pause, confused. Or was that yesterday? I saw her taking notes on her phone, documenting, building her case, not knowing that I was documenting her. One afternoon, while I was pretending to nap on the sofa, I heard her on the phone in the dining room. The recorder was in the pocket of my sweater. "Mom, I swear she's getting worse every day. Yes, this morning she put on the same blouse twice and didn't even notice. The lawyer says we almost have enough. 3 more weeks, a month at most, and we can file the lawsuit. The psychiatric evaluation? We already have an appointment with Dr. Wallace for the 28th. He already knows what he needs to put in his report." My blood boiled. A bought and paid for psychiatrist. But I remained still, breathing slowly, as if I were asleep. David? He doesn't matter. Michael already spoke with a lawyer who told him that as the younger brother, he doesn't have the same rights. Besides, what's he going to do from Madison? By the time he finds out about everything, it will already be signed. She continued talking about her plans. Selling the house, buying a condo in Lincoln Park, going on a European vacation with the money from my life insurance. When she hung up, I waited 5 more minutes. Then I woke up with a start. Oh, did I fall asleep? What time is it? Jessica appeared with her serpent's smile. 4 o'clock, Eleanor. Did you sleep well? Did I eat yet? Yes. You ate 2 hours ago. Don't you remember? Oh, honey. It's just that lately I have trouble remembering things. Don't worry, Eleanor. That's what I'm here for. To take care of you. Every word was poison wrapped in honey. That night, I sent the recording to Vincent and David. Vincent responded immediately. Perfect. This is pure gold. Keep it up. We need more. And I got more. A few days later, Jessica invited her family over to see the house. She didn't tell me. They just showed up. Her mother, Sharon, a woman in her 60s with too much makeup and bleached blonde hair. Her sister, Tiffany, and her brother-in-law, a heavy-set guy who sweated even if he were at the North Pole. I was in my room when I heard them arrive. I came downstairs slowly, the recorder hidden in the pocket of my skirt. "Oh, Eleanor." Sharon hugged me with false familiarity. "So nice to finally meet you. Jessica talks so much about you." "The pleasure is all mine," I lied. "Look, Mom, Tiffany, this is the dining room," Jessica said, giving a tour as if she were the owner. "We're going to put a new table here. This one is so old." "It's the table where we raised our children," I said softly. Jessica ignored me. "And we're going to completely remodel the living room, change the furniture, paint the walls, put in a new rug." Her mother nodded excitedly. "Oh, sweetie, your house is going to be so beautiful." "Mom, please," Jessica whispered, glancing at me. But then she smiled. "Well, Eleanor understands, right? At her age, these things don't matter so much anymore." I bit my tongue. "Act, Eleanor. Act." "Yes, honey, whatever you say." They went upstairs. I followed them slowly, like a tired old woman. Let them think I was harmless, weak, controllable. On the second floor, Jessica opened the door to the room that had been Michael's when he was a boy. Now it was their master bedroom. "This is where we sleep. When Eleanor leaves, this will be the main bedroom." "Am I going to leave?" I asked in a trembling voice. Sharon patted my shoulder. "Oh, Eleanor, Jessica was just telling me that maybe you'd be more comfortable in a place where they can take better care of you. You know, with nurses, activities for people your age. A nursing home. They were talking about putting me in a nursing home in my own house." "Maybe so," I said submissively. "Maybe that would be best." Tiffany, the sister, chimed in. "The good thing is that when you sell this house, you'll get good money." "How much did you say it was worth, Jessica? Like 900,000? 875,000, according to the appraisal." "But yes, it's a good investment." They were talking about my house, my life, as if I were already dead. But I stood there, silent, recording everything. When they left, I went up to my room and cried, not from sadness, but from contained fury, from a momentary feeling of powerlessness, but also from something else, determination. I sent the audio to Vincent. His response made me smile for the first time in days. "We've got them. We're almost ready." That same week, something unexpected happened. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard voices from upstairs. An argument. Michael and Jessica. "I don't know if we're doing the right thing," Michael was saying. "Now you're telling me this? After everything we've planned?" "She's my mother, Jessica. I can't just—" "Your mother is old. She can't take care of herself anymore. We're doing her a favor." "A favor? Or do we just want her house?" There was a silence. Then Jessica's voice, cold as ice. "Michael, we decided this together. Your mother has a huge house she doesn't use. We need to build a future. What's wrong with that? But declaring her incompetent when she's not. And what do you suggest? We wait for her to die? She could live another 20 years. 20 years of living with in-laws? 20 years with nothing of our own? But it's fraud, Jessica. It's strategy. Besides, you already signed the papers with the lawyer. You already gave your statement. You're in this, my love. There's no turning back." I didn't hear any more. I went silently up to my room. My son had doubts, small, belated doubts. But he had them. That night, I called Vincent. "Is it time?" I asked. "Almost. I need one more thing. We need evidence of the lover." "What lover?" "Eleanor, please. No one does all this just for a house. She has plans. And I'm sure they include someone other than your son." He was right. The next day, I made it my mission to watch her. Jessica went out to the gym every afternoon, always dressed up, always perfumed. And she always came back 3 hours later, her hair perfect and without a drop of sweat. I asked Carol for help. My friend, bless her heart, agreed immediately. "Eleanor, count on me. That woman is going to pay for everything she's done to you." Carol followed her in her car. Jessica didn't go to any gym. She went to a hotel, the Marlowe Hotel in the Gold Coast. Carol sent me pictures. Jessica walking in arm with a man, a guy in his 40s with slicked back hair, an expensive suit, a salesman's smile. 3 hours later, they came out. He gave her a kiss on the lips before getting into a BMW SUV. Carol ran the plates. The car was registered to a Blake Carter. A quick Google search revealed what we needed. A businessman wanted in Monterey for real estate fraud. A professional con artist. I sent everything to Vincent. His response was immediate. Perfect. Now we can make our move. Are you ready? I looked at my reflection in the mirror. The same woman who had tried on that lipstick weeks ago, but different, with fire in her eyes. I'm ready, I replied. And the next day, Jessica saw someone arrive whom she never expected. It was Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the morning. Jessica was in the living room watching a series on TV, eating grapes from my fruit bowl with her feet up on my coffee table. She heard the doorbell and went to answer it with annoyance. Who could it be now? She opened the door, and her face went pale. Vincent was standing there in his impeccable suit, his leather briefcase, and a professional smile. Good morning. I'm looking for Mrs. Eleanor Aguirre. Who are you? Jessica stammered. Vincent Serrano, attorney. I'm here to see my client. I came down the stairs at that moment. I had planned my entrance. I was wearing a gray dress that made me look dignified. My hair was up, and I had even put on a little makeup. I wanted to look strong. Vincent, please, come in, I said with a firmness that made Jessica take a step back. Client? Jessica repeated. Eleanor, what is this man talking about? Sit down, Jessica. You need to hear this, too. We sat in the living room. Vincent opened his briefcase and took out a thick folder. Mrs. Jessica Montero, I am here on behalf of Mrs. Eleanor Aguirre to notify you that we have filed a formal lawsuit for fraud, identity theft, and misappropriation of funds. Jessica laughed. A sharp, nervous laugh. What? This is ridiculous. Eleanor, what did this man tell you? Who is he? He's my lawyer, I replied calmly. And he has evidence of everything you've done. Evidence? What are you talking about? Vincent placed copies of the fraudulent bills on the table. $84,700 in unauthorized purchases. Credit cards opened in my client's name without her consent. This constitutes financial fraud, Mrs. Montero. She gave me permission. Right, Eleanor? You gave me permission. No, Jessica. I never did. My voice didn't waver. Vincent continued. We also have documentation of a plan to declare my client mentally incompetent with the goal of seizing her property. He placed copies of the documents I found in the study on the table. Documents that were prepared without Mrs. Aguirre's knowledge or consent. The color completely drained from Jessica's face. Furthermore, Vincent said, pulling out his phone, we have recordings. He played the audio. Jessica's voice filled the room. She's getting worse every day. We almost have enough. 3 more weeks and we can file the lawsuit. Then, the audio from her family's visit. When you sell this house, you'll get good money. $875,000. Jessica jumped to her feet. That's illegal. You can't record me without my permission. Actually, we can, Vincent replied calmly. The recordings were made by the owner of the house on her own property. They are completely admissible in court. Michael, Jessica screamed. Michael, get down here now. My son came running down the stairs. He was shirtless, in sweatpants, looking like he had just woken up. What's going on? Who's yelling? Vincent stood up and extended his hand. Vincent Serrano, your mother's attorney. Michael didn't shake his hand. He looked at me. Sit down, son. You need to hear this too. For the first time in months, I used a tone that allowed no argument. The same tone I used when he was a boy and had done something wrong. Michael sat down. Vincent went over everything again. The fraud, the plans, the recordings. Michael listened, his eyes growing wider and wider. Additionally, Vincent continued, pulling out more papers, we have requested an immediate freeze on all fraudulent credit cards. The debts will be transferred to the name of the person who made the purchases, Mrs. Jessica Montero. You can't do that, Jessica shrieked. Yes, we can. And we did. This morning at 8 o'clock. Vincent handed her an official document. We have also filed for a temporary eviction order while the case is investigated. Eviction? Michael found his voice. Mom, are you kicking us out of the house? I looked at him. My son. My firstborn. The boy I had held in my arms, comforted during his nightmares, applauded at every achievement. Michael, you were planning to declare me insane to steal my house. It wasn't. Yes, it was, I interrupted. I found the documents. I heard the conversations. I saw the plans. My voice cracked slightly. How could you? Mom, I just wanted. What did you want? To put me in a nursing home? To sell your father's house? To erase me? Jessica intervened, with perfect tears rolling down her cheeks. Michael, my love, this is a misunderstanding. Your mother is confused. This man is manipulating her. Shut up. Michael's voice boomed in the living room. For the first time, he yelled at his wife. Shut up, Jessica. He stood up, trembling. He looked at me with glassy eyes. Mom, I didn't want it to go this far. Jessica said it was the only way to secure our future, that you wouldn't understand, that it was better this way for everyone. For everyone? Or for her? Vincent played his last cards. The photos of Jessica entering the hotel with Blake, and finally, we have evidence that Mrs. Montero is maintaining an extramarital affair with Mr. Blake Carter, a known con artist wanted in Monterey. The photos fell onto the table like bombs. Michael saw them. 1, 2, 3. Jessica kissing another man. Jessica laughing with another man. Jessica leaving a hotel with another man. Michael, I can explain. Jessica began. But Michael wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at me, and in his eyes, I saw something I hadn't seen in months. Guilt, shame, pain. Mom, Vincent read from the official document. The court order states that both Mr. Michael Castro and Mrs. Jessica Montero must vacate the second floor of this property within a period not to exceed 72 hours while the investigation is carried out. 72 hours? Jessica shot up like a spring. This is abuse. We have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you planned to steal the home of a 68-year-old woman, Vincent replied without emotion. Jessica looked at me with pure, distilled hatred. You? You played the fool this whole time? You set us up? No, Jessica. I defended myself, which is not the same thing. Michael, do something. She's your mother. Convince her. But Michael was still staring at the photos. He picked one up in his hands. The photo where Jessica was kissing Blake. How long? He asked in a broken voice. Michael, it's not. How long? 6 months, Jessica whispered. The silence was deafening. 6 months? You've been cheating on me for 6 months while you were planning to steal everything from my mother? I wasn't going to steal it. It was for us, for our future. Our future? Michael let out a bitter laugh. Did our future include that guy? Jessica didn't answer. She didn't need to. The truth was written on her face. Michael sank onto the sofa. He covered his face with his hands, and he cried. I wanted to go to him, to hug him, to comfort him like I did when he was a child. But I stayed where I was, because my son had made his choices, and choices have consequences. Vincent gathered his documents. You have until Friday at 6 o'clock in the evening to vacate. If you do not do so voluntarily, the police will come to execute the order. I suggest you cooperate. He stood up. I walked him to the door. Thank you, Vincent. This is just the beginning, Eleanor. The hard part comes now. When I closed the door, I stood there for a few seconds, breathing deeply. Behind me, Jessica was screaming. Michael was crying. Chaos had erupted. But for the first time in months, I wasn't crying. For the first time in months, I was standing tall. And though my heart was bleeding for my son, for the broken family, for all that was lost, I also felt something I had forgotten. Dignity. The next 3 days were a silent hell. Jessica packed her things violently, throwing clothes into suitcases, breaking what she couldn't take. Michael moved like a zombie, not speaking, not looking at anyone. On Thursday night, my son knocked on my bedroom door. Mom, can I come in? My heart tightened. Come in. He entered with his shoulders slumped, his eyes swollen. He looked 10 years older than he had a week ago. Mom, I don't even know where to begin. Start with the truth, Michael. He sat on the edge of my bed, where he had sat so many times as a child when he was scared or sad. Jessica convinced me we were doing it for your own good. She told me you were losing your memory, that you needed special care, that the house was too much for you. He wiped away tears with the back of his hand, and I wanted to believe her. Why? Because it was convenient for me, Mom. Because I wanted the house. Because I was tired of having nothing of my own. And was it worth destroying me to get it? No. God, no. But when you get into something like that, it gets easier to justify it every day. One more step, one more lie, and suddenly you're in so deep you don't know how to get out. You could have gotten out at any time. You could have talked to me. I know. And I didn't. And I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life. He looked at me with pleading eyes. Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did is unforgivable. But I need you to know that I never stopped loving you, even if what I did says otherwise. I wanted to hug him, to tell him everything was all right. But I couldn't, because everything was not all right. Michael, you are my son, and you always will be. But I need time. I need to heal from what you did to me. He nodded, crying silently. I understand. I'm leaving tomorrow. I don't know where yet. David offered to let me stay with him for a few days while I figure things out. And Jessica? She's going to her mother's. I've already filed for divorce. His voice broke. It was all a lie, Mom. Everything. I don't even know if she ever loved me. I'm sorry, Son. I'm sorrier. For you. For everything. He got up to leave. At the door, he stopped. Dad would be so disappointed in me. Yes, I replied honestly. He would be. But he would also believe that you can be better. When he left, I cried. Not for Jessica, not for the house. I cried for my son, for the boy he once was and the man he had become. On Friday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Jessica and Michael finished moving their things out. David had come from Madison to help with the boxes. Jessica didn't say a word to me. She just shot me one last look of pure hatred before getting into an Uber with 6 suitcases. Michael said goodbye with a long, desperate hug. I'm going to make it up to you, Mom. I don't know how, but I will. When they were gone, the house fell into a silence I hadn't felt in 2 years. David stayed with me that night. We ordered Chinese takeout and sat in the living room, my living room, without the constant noise from upstairs. How are you feeling, Mom? Tired, sad, but also free. You did good. Dad would be proud. Your father never would have let it get to this point. No, but Dad isn't here anymore, and you had to fight alone, and you won. 2 weeks later was the court hearing. Vincent had prepared me. It's just a formality. With all the evidence we have, the judge will rule in your favor. The courtroom was small, cold, and smelled of old paper and stale coffee. I was sitting next to Vincent. On the other side was Jessica with her lawyer, a nervous man who was sweating despite the air conditioning. Michael didn't come. His lawyer represented him. He had accepted all the blame in exchange for a lighter sentence. The judge, a man in his 60s with thick glasses, reviewed the documents. All right, I've reviewed the case. Mrs. Montero, do you have anything to say in your defense? Jessica stood up. She was wearing a navy blue suit, her hair pulled back, with discreet makeup the perfect image of innocence. Your Honor, it was all a misunderstanding. I only wanted to help my mother-in-law. She was confused, forgetting things. Is that why you opened credit cards in her name without authorization? The judge asked. She gave me verbal permission. And is that why you planned to have her declared incompetent to take her property? Jessica stammered. It was my husband's idea. We have recordings where you clearly orchestrate the entire plan, Mrs. Montero. The judge looked at his papers. We also have evidence that you were maintaining an extramarital affair while committing these acts of fraud. Is that correct? Jessica's silence was answer enough. The judge took off his glasses. Mrs. Montero, what you did is called elder financial abuse. It is a serious crime. Vincent stood up. Your Honor, We would also like to present additional evidence regarding Mrs. Montero's accomplice, Mr. Blake Carter. He placed a thick file on the bench. The judge reviewed it, and his expression hardened. Is this the same Blake Carter wanted for fraud in Monterey? The very same, Your Honor. We have reason to believe Mrs. Montero was planning to flee with him once the property was obtained. Jessica went pale. That's not true. We have text messages, Vincent continued, relentless. He projected WhatsApp conversations between Jessica and Blake onto a screen. Jessica, it's almost done. 3 more weeks and the house is ours. Blake, and your husband? Jessica, that fool doesn't suspect a thing. Once I have the money, I'm divorcing him, and we're going to Cancun like we planned. Blake, you're a bad girl, baby. I love it. The judge read message after message. The courtroom was in absolute silence. Anything else you'd like to add, Mrs. Montero? Jessica didn't answer. She was crying, but no one believed her tears anymore. The judge closed the folder with a sharp thud. I find in favor of Mrs. Eleanor Aguirre on all counts. Mrs. Jessica Montero is ordered to pay the sum of $84,700 for financial fraud, plus damages to be determined in a subsequent hearing. A warrant is issued for the arrest of Mr. Blake Carter. Mrs. Montero will face criminal charges for fraud, document forgery, and elder financial abuse. The gavel struck the bench. The sound echoed in my chest. I had won. Jessica was escorted out of the courtroom by 2 officers. Before she left, she turned to look at me. There was no arrogance left in her eyes, only defeat. Vincent hugged me. It's over, Eleanor. You won. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt exhausted, empty. We left the courthouse into the bright afternoon Sunday. David was waiting for me outside. Well, we won, I said simply. He hugged me tight. You deserve it, Mom. You deserve everything. That night, back in my house, I sat in the living room with a mug of coffee. The house was silent. The silence that used to terrify me now felt like peace. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Michael. Mom, I heard the result. I'm happy for you. I know I don't deserve anything, but can I see you again someday? I read it 3 times. My fingers trembled over the keyboard. Someday, son, but not today. It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't a final goodbye either. I looked around. My house, my living room, my memories. Everything was still here, and so was I. But the story wasn't over yet. 3 months after the trial, my life had found a new rhythm. Different, more peaceful. I went back to my knitting meetings with Carol, Barbara, and Helen. They welcomed me with long hugs and tears of joy. Eleanor, you're a warrior, Carol would say. I didn't want to be a warrior. I just wanted to be left in peace. Well, you did it. And with style. Jessica was facing a criminal trial. Her lawyer had tried to negotiate, but Vincent was relentless. Blake, her accomplice and lover, was arrested in Miami trying to leave the country. Now they both faced years in prison. The fraudulent debts were removed from my name and transferred to Jessica. $84,700 that she would have to repay with community service and a payment plan that would take her decades. Poetic justice, Vincent called it. But the hardest part wasn't the trial, or the lawyers, or the paperwork. The hardest part was Michael. My son had fallen into a deep depression. David called me every week with updates. He's in therapy, Mom. He's trying to process everything. He lost his marriage. He almost lost his mother. And he discovered he was a puppet. How is he financially? Surviving. He got a new job. He's living in a small apartment, paying off his debts, little by little. Has he asked about me? Every day. One afternoon in October, 6 months after everything, Michael showed up at my door. He hadn't called. He just rang the doorbell. When I opened it, I almost didn't recognize him. He had lost weight. He had dark circles under his eyes. He looked tired, defeated, small. Mom. His voice broke as soon as he saw me. Michael, I know I have no right to be here. I know I should have called, but I needed to see you. I let him in. We sat in the living room, with a yard of distance between us that felt like a chasm. I've been in therapy, he began. Twice a week, trying to understand how I became the person I was with you. And what have you discovered? that I was weak, that I let ambition and manipulation turn me into a monster, that I betrayed everything Dad taught me. He wiped away tears. That I betrayed the person who loved me most in the world. My heart ached, but I said nothing. I needed to hear it all. I'm paying back the debts, all of them, even if it takes me years. The lawyer says I have to pay $14,000 in damages. I'm saving every dollar. I don't need your money, Michael, but I need to pay it. I need to do something, Mom. Anything. We sat in silence, a heavy silence, filled with everything unsaid, broken, lost. Why did you come today? I finally asked. Because it's your birthday. I had forgotten. 69 years old. A year after that humiliating party, Michael took a small box out of his backpack. I brought you something. It's not much. I don't have a lot of money, but I opened the box. Inside was a mug, a hand-painted ceramic mug with little blue flowers. It was clumsy, imperfect, clearly made by inexperienced hands. I made it, Michael explained. I took a pottery class. I remembered that Jessica threw out your mugs, the ones Dad used to give you, and I thought I could start replacing them, one at a time, for as long as it takes you to forgive me. I took the mug in my hands. I felt its uneven weight, its rough texture, the imperfect love put into every detail, and I cried. Mom, don't cry, please. I'm not crying because I'm sad, Michael. I'm crying because this mug is the first real thing you've given me in years. Real? Without strings attached, without ulterior motives. Just because you wanted to give me something. He knelt in front of me, like he did as a child when he was asking for forgiveness for breaking a window or getting bad grades. Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did is inexcusable, but if you give me a chance, even a small one, I will spend the rest of my life showing you that I can be the son you deserved. I looked at him. I really looked at him. And I saw two people. The man who betrayed me, and the boy who was once my everything. Michael, I can't forgive you today. Maybe I can't forgive you tomorrow. But I want to try. Really? Really. But with conditions. Anything. First, therapy. Not just for you. Family therapy, with you, me, and David. We need to heal this properly. I accept. Second, boundaries. If we rebuild a relationship, it will be slowly, with respect, with honesty. I understand. And third, you never, ever choose money over people again. Because money gets spent, Michael, but the people you love, they are irreplaceable. I know that now. I learned it the hardest way possible. I hugged him. A short, cautious hug, but it was a start. When he left, I held the mug in my hands. It was ugly, it was imperfect, it was beautiful. 2 weeks later, Vincent came for dinner. I made him pot roast with potatoes and carrots. Simple, honest food, the way I've always known how to cook. Eleanor, this is delicious, he said, wiping his mouth with a napkin. My husband used to say I cooked best when I was at peace. And are you at peace? I thought about the question. I thought about everything I had been through. The pain, the betrayal, the fight, the victory, the difficult forgiveness. I'm getting there, I replied. Vincent looked at me with that look he'd never lost. Eleanor, I know it's soon. I know you're still healing, but I need to tell you something I've kept quiet for 45 years. Vincent, let me finish. He took my hand across the table. I never stopped thinking about you. I got married, yes, I had a life. But when my wife died 5 years ago, and when I saw you again a few months ago, I knew that some stories deserve a second chapter. Vincent, you don't need to answer now. I just need you to know that I'm here, that I'm not going anywhere, and that if someday, when you're ready, you want to give this old fool who's loved you since he was 22 a chance, I'll be waiting. I looked at him, his gray hair, his wrinkles, his kind eyes, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility. I'm not promising anything, I said finally. But I'm not saying no, either. He smiled. That's more than I could have hoped for. That night, after Vincent left, I went up to my room. I passed the door to the second-floor apartment, now empty, silent. I entered my room and stood in front of the mirror. the same mirror where it all began. I picked up the lipstick, the same coral lipstick I had put on that day. I applied it slowly, carefully, looking myself in the eye. And I saw a different woman, not younger, not more perfect, but stronger, more dignified, more herself. Makeup doesn't perform miracles, I said to my reflection, but reclaimed dignity. That transforms everything. I smiled, and for the first time in a long time, the smile was genuine. I learned many things in these painful months. I learned that family doesn't always mean loyalty, that sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who can hurt you the most. I learned that it's okay to set boundaries, that saying no doesn't make you a bad person, that defending yourself isn't selfish. I learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, that you can forgive and still protect your peace, that you can love someone from a distance while you heal. I learned that age doesn't make you weak, that at 69, you can be stronger than ever, that gray hairs are wisdom and wrinkles are maps of battles survived. And I learned that it's never too late to start over. My house is at peace now. David comes to visit every month. Michael comes every 2 weeks, slowly rebuilding what he destroyed. Vincent stops by for coffee on Thursdays and makes me laugh with stories of his absurd cases. I'm back to watering my plants. I'm back to cooking for my friends. I'm back to wearing coral lipstick without anyone telling me I'm too old for it. Because this is the truth. True wealth isn't in what you possess. It's in what you don't allow to be taken from you. Your dignity, your voice, your right to live in peace. And that is something no one, absolutely no one, can take from you, unless you let them. If this story touched your heart, if it made you feel angry, hopeful, or if it simply reminded you that it's never too late to stand up for yourself, leave me a comment. Tell me, where are you listening from? Have you experienced something similar? Do you know someone who needs to hear that they deserve respect? Hit the like button if you think Eleanor did the right thing. And subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories of women and men who stood up when everyone thought they were defeated, because we all have a story, and they all deserve to be told. Thank you for joining me for this tale. Until the next story,